Trade and Industry Minister Ebrahim Patel says manufacturing exports were the highest in at least a decade, with the economy beginning to recover from the first wave of COVID-19. He's delivered his department's budget vote today and joins us now to outline plans for the year ahead. Very good afternoon, Minister. Thank you so much for stepping out of your conference and chatting with us a little bit. So in your budget vote speech earlier today, you emphasized on the de-risking our economy. Please just expand that for me and maybe give us one or two key risks that you see.
Tony, thank you very much. We're living in a completely different world, a world that has been reshaped by COVID. And COVID had more than simply the effect of the lockdown period. It has completely disrupted global supply chains. And as economies began to recover from that, a number of new jolts or shocks hit the global economy. Most recently, of course, we've seen the war in Ukraine. In the case of South Africa, it's been the July unrest last year. And there's the geopolitical tension, the broader fracturing of the world into two broad camps, or two or more broad camps. What this means is when a South African wants to cook their food and they're reliant on wheat or on edible oil, the oil that we used to cook with, those supply lines have now been disrupted, and that creates not only a pressure on prices, but sometimes the lack of availability. We've seen a massive spike in energy prices for the same reason. That's a risk that we face. So that would be one risk, the risk of geopolitical tensions. The other big risk is that one of climate change. The floods that we've seen on the eastern seaboard of the country, KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape, reminds us that with climate change will come enormous new upheavals and challenges to the way in which we do things. That set of floods have completely washed away productive assets, bridges, rail lines, and so on. And societies have to deal with that new reality. And what COVID also showed us as the third risk is our vulnerability. During the COVID period, we were unable to secure essential medical supplies. And it took South African ingenuity and industrial capability that we now can produce ventilators and anesthetics and vaccines and so on.
Now, Minister,
but the broader lesson from that, we've got to de-risk against that and have a strategy that addresses that.
100%. Now, Minister, obviously energy and the state of ESCOM at the present moment has to be a risk, but you have you've launched a forum to bring together, the players within the energy and even within, you've got, I think it's, you've got ESCOM involved in that, and you've brought in Minister Gordon as well. Speak to me about this particular forum.
Well, Tony and viewers, to be able to successfully industrialize our economy, to grow it, to create more jobs and more opportunities for people, we need to have a secure energy supply, and we need a transport logistics system that can move things around in our economy. And we've had challenges in those areas, and they're historic, but they affect us immediately. And so Minister Pravin Gordhan and I have agreed that we're going to set up a new forum. It will bring in ESCOM and Transnet on the one hand, maybe some other public entities too. And on the other hand, it's going to bring in significant strategic industries, car making, steel making, other key industries, so that we can sit down and we can identify what support and what collaboration can help us address the energy problem and improve transport logistics. For example, I met recently with Air Liquide, which is a company working with Sasol, and they're now building a massive renewable energy capability that will eventually bring 600 megawatts of additional energy to the grid. Through the announcement by President Ramaphosa last year, companies have the ability now to do up to 100 megawatts of energy. Some of that we can get onto the grid, and it means these long-term partnerships can help us to address the energy challenges. When we have load shedding, it disrupts business, jobs, and ordinary South Africans. And it's bringing that forum together to say what we can do, how we can tap into the know-how, the technology, and the capabilities in the private sector, and enhance that we have in the state through that partnership. So I'm really looking forward to that as being a means of addressing the challenges. On its own, it's not enough. There's other things that we need to do. We need to boost investment in transport, logistics, and energy. And of course, we need to be able to use some of these new technologies. We've been able also, Tony, to raise $8.5 billion. It's been pledged to us by developed countries as part of financing South Africa's transition to a more climate resilient growth path, to give us opportunities in green industrialization. As they say with these things, the small print is everything, and that's being sorted out now. When we've got that, these different elements of addressing the energy challenge can come together, and we hope can contribute positively to the challenges we face.
Now, Minister, the special economic zones, there was so much fanfare about it. I think we're sitting at about 11 at the present moment designated special economic zones. Where are we with that? Because that's critical, isn't it, in job creation?
It's critical in job creation, but it also can take jobs to areas that are not part of your traditional big growth metros like Johannesburg and Cape Town and so on. The old model of doing special economic zones have not worked very, very well. So we've been revamping it, and we did a new special economic zone in Tshwane. We announced it about 3 years ago. Began working on it a year and a half ago. The yellow trucks, these big trucks and bulldozers and so on, went on site. It's a lot of dust, a lot of mud, a lot of water, and they began to build. Today, there's already 3 factories that are making components for the Ford Motor Company. And by October this year, if all goes well, it's our intention to have about 11 of those companies there, employing 2,000 workers, doing components that go into the Ford Ranger bakkie. And that bakkie gets sold across the world then. Now, that model required us to work very, very closely in partnership with Premier Makura from the province, Gauteng province, and with the Tshwane local municipality, the metro there. We now want to take that model and roll it out across all the special economic zones, because the zones are there. Some of them have worked well, like in Kucha, we have a significant number of jobs, but many others are slow. The one in Richards Bay has been languishing for a number of years. The ones in Atlantis and Saldanha has not yet gained enough traction. So this will be a big focus this year of our work, how to get a better way in which we can use these special economic zones. They're partnerships. Government nationally don't drive them. We respond to a request by provinces. But we've said that model needs to be changed. We need a partnership where government nationally can play a bigger role in bringing our capability to work with provinces to unlock opportunities. And the Tshwane SEZ is a very good example of it.
Thank you so much, Minister, for taking a bit of your time to speak with us. That, of course, was the Trade and Industry Minister, Ebrahim Patel, talking to us some of the points that he raised in his budget vote speech a little bit earlier on in the National Assembly. Right.